Hello, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us again today on our live show. Is December 2nd, 2025, and we're taking your questions about U.S. immigration live on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our YouTube page is our main page plus our clips page. We got a lot of different info going on both those, so I think you'll enjoy it. Let me make sure I set up the TikTok one. I forgot to press the button. But we come here every week, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, to take your questions live by U.S. Immigration. Usually a good flow of questions are coming. And we're able to have some guidance on the types of cases that we handle by U.S. immigration law. It's always really different. And, the immigration system, it changes every day. And I'm sure if you're watching this online, you hear something different from different people coming up all the time as to what they say is going on, what's not going on. And I know it can be hard to figure it all out. So I give my perspective. And one thing about immigration law is you might talk with 5 different immigration attorneys, you get 6 different answers. And one of them will be yes, one of them no, and both will be right. That's the problem with immigration law, for better or for worse, law in general. But we'll give you some, experience. I'm in this fight day in, day out, and I'm very active talking with other immigration attorneys on a daily basis. And I have a different podcast for immigration lawyers, but it's called the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Podcast. And there we're constantly talking with immigration lawyers about what they're seeing and behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff we shared as training material for other immigration attorneys. So I try to do my best to help the community, both other immigration attorneys and people like yourselves, people who may use the immigration system for what it is right now. None of the information provided here is intended as individual legal guidance. It's for general educational purposes only. If you'd like to have a private consultation, go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. That's jqqlaw.com/contact. Fill the boxes there so we know more about what you're asking for, and we'll take it. We'll give you a response to take from there. And also, if you're interested in the marriage green card fiancé visa, our primary focus of our law firm, we have a guide called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. I'd recommend going that site, downloading the free guide, 50, 70 plus pages detailing the whole thing. And if you're interested in citizenship naturalization, it's very important. We have a guide. We just finished on that a month or two ago. Really like you to see how well it's read, how well it's designed. Go to jqqlaw.com/citizenship, and you can just put your email there, and we'll email it to you. It's jqqlaw.com/citizenship for that. Having said that, start the show, throw out your questions about U.S. immigration, like and subscribe wherever you're watching. I'm here to answer. Now, I get a little bit of a teaser until the questions start rolling in. Not teaser, but a little bit of information because it's popping up so much about interviews, adjustment of status interviews. They're happening, and they're happening peacefully. Some people are worried about what's going to happen there. I was at USCIS today in Southern California, and everything was normal. The interviews are happening. I didn't see anything crazy go down. Even had one of the interviews get approved on the spot, which it's very rare for that to happen nowadays. Another one got a continuous, but should probably be approved tomorrow. It's just they schedule them at the same time, so I have to have a colleague come with me to help with that. But the cases were clean. It's just the immigration is confusing. A lot of places for things to go wrong, so we like to just stay on top of it, have an eye on it. So in case something does start to go wrong, we could quickly jump on it and try to solve the situation, communicate with the government to avoid it going down more. Marisa asks, is the I-730 suspended? Well, future they haven't directly suspended the I-730. The I-730 is if you're a family member of an asylee to get to get a visa as a family member, a refugee. Now they may have suspended or paused adjudication on asylum cases. So will that apply to I-730s? I'm not sure. The memo, I don't think on that was very clear. We don't do asylum cases, so it's not something I stay up on every day per se. But it's not clear. Maybe. That's the unfortunate answer I have to give you. Bernstein goes to ask, hi, what is I-751 waiver approval rates? So they don't really give us information on I-751s, whether they're waivers or joint and stuff. And frankly, I get this question about approval rates or percentages of that. It's not a worthwhile question to ask because each case is different. I have a lot of times people come to me because we have a lot of videos about waiver I-751s. It's something we do a lot in our firm. And people come, they file themselves, they get denied, or you got a bad RFE. I'm like, well, you just did a bad job. If you just submit the things properly, it's very easy to get this one approved. You have the stuff. And so, these might end up getting denied and for no reason. They should have been approved. So it doesn't really help you. And again, as always, it really depends on your case, what evidence you have. So I would even think about approval rates. You'd have an immigration attorney that does this kind of stuff, look at it and be like, okay, you have satisfactory evidence to make a good case, and then go by that and prep for that. Love, Peace, Unity, Hope asks, I have a question. Do you know if K1 visa from Frankfurt, Germany paused too? There's no reason for the fiancé visa to be paused in Germany. They don't really pause it per embassy or per K1 itself. It depends on your background, the applicant, the beneficiary, what country they're from, to see if they're going to be affected by something like a travel ban. So the Frankfurt, Germany part does make sense. If you're German in Frankfurt, Germany, you get approved. But if you're Iranian or Afghan in Germany, then maybe not. So that's what you should look for. SSS says, hi, John. What's a Newsweek? Do you know if the halts and changes coming up for the 19 countries will impact CVIS transfers of students, or are they more related to adjustment status and green cards? Well, the news that's happened during Thanksgiving from the president is not policy. We don't really know what they're going to do. It's just like they just mentioned something big. People are affected. Okay, what does that mean? We don't really know how that's going to affect it. So I can't say whether it will or won't, because we just have to wait for them to actually spell out what is happening. Mariza follows up. Mariza, I-730 is suspended. If someone gets a 221G, what can happen? 221G, essentially got to wait. That's administrative processing. So you just gotta wait and see what happens. Or first of all, if there's particular things they've asked for in the 221G embassy notice, respond. So they say there's insufficient birth certificate or something like that. But sometimes they just say administrative processing. You got to wait longer to get a decision. You might have to wait. If a long time goes by over a year, 2 years, you could try suing them. But most of the time, you just have to wait, unfortunately. Leaderman says, what's happening with the I-765? The I-765 is a work permit. What do you mean? What's happening? It's just they're getting approved. I'm not sure what your question is exactly about that. Marzia Fuzz, can you bring up, please? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I hope I answered your question. Thank you for leaving a like, Carlina, Gamo, and everyone else. We have 1,000 likes already, a few minutes into the show. I appreciate it. Please like if you're watching on TikTok so we get more reach, and share the feed so other people know they can ask questions about U.S. immigration law. Thank you for doing that. Crypto Buddy says, hi, is EB3 also suspended for Afghans that are inside the U.S. waiting for priority date? So the suspension is for people coming into the United States. Whether adjustment of status is bad, I'm not sure if adjustment is bad. They're just going to hold on it for extra security checks. But adjustment of status, if you're doing EP3, I think you have to maintaining status. But I don't think adjustment is affected yet. But it's not really clear how they're going to do it. We're still waiting. AI says U.S. immigration community asked about I-730s, I-765s. Okay. Oh, the AI is telling me on TikTok, whatever that means. Aris says, my boyfriend is detained and came through CP1 in December 2021. Is the case hard to win? No asylum. Your boyfriend has to talk with an immigration attorney to see what's going on. I don't know what's going on with this case or what his background facts are. Agua Perez says 42B approved. How long does it take to get the green card? We don't do 42B or cancellation cases, court cases, so it's not something I do on a day-to-day basis to be able to advise on that. On Instagram, we got a couple questions. Bernstengo says, can I travel with joint I-751 extension letter while divorce is under process? You technically can travel. I wouldn't recommend it, because if you're outside and for some reason your case is denied, you might be sent to immigration court, NTA, notice to appear, and they might not let you back in. So I can't, first of all, advise on individual legal guidance here because I don't know your case. But I need to review it first, see how strong it is, where you are in the divorce process, what's going on, before I'll give advice on that. But generally, I wouldn't recommend traveling in your kind of situation. Neilafar says, if someone has a green card and wants to travel, is there any problem besides going to Iran? Well, it depends on your background. Do you have any criminal history? Could they associate you with any national security issues? Have you made any comments about Israel, Palestine issues? Have you made any anti-American comments? We got to go through your whole background admissibility-wise, how long you've been staying here, you're working here, where your money's going, who your family are, to be able to really advise on that. Generally, people on green cards travel all the time. So 99.9% of people will be okay. But whether you fall within the 0.01% of people that are going to have problems, that's where individual analysis has to happen. I can't say whether you're good. Now, again, most people will be okay, vast majority. But whether each person asking me this question is good, I can't answer that without sitting talking with the person. It's like asking, am I going to have heart problems if I go jogging? Well, most people are going to be okay, but some people have heart issues. So I do like the doctor stuff needed to catch the heart issue. We don't know. And some people have heart issues and they still go running. This is a sad situation. One of the Kennedys has great health, and they realized she has cancer, and she's like, well, I feel great. I just went hiking. I had a baby. I'm good. And so you never know about this stuff. Immigration is unfortunately sort of like that. Love Peace Unit says, we both are Iranian. I live in the U.S. and applied for my fiance. He lives in Germany. Our K1 is under AP. Is it possible for Iranians? Well, you are subject to travel ban. The K1 is a non-immigrant visa, so it's not an exception. So they could deny that case unless your spouse. Yeah, they might deny that case. There's a lawsuit currently starting for that to try to get you guys into the administrative processing delay will happen regardless. But to get you in like protections under the travel ban exception, but K1 would be denied. So most time in those cases, we would do marriage. That would be the way to go. But it's a tricky situation right now with the changes that happen with the travel ban popping up. Leadmore says, are VAWA cases suspended? I still don't get my work permit. It's already like 1.5 months. Well, that always takes a long time for VAWA cases to get work permits anyways. But I don't deal with VAWA on a day-to-day basis, so I don't think it's suspended, but it's just really backed up. User 37 asks, safe to travel with a green card from a banned country is conditional through marriage. Well, I talked about that. It really depends on your background and what's going on. We have to analyze that. I just talked about it right now, so I don't want to go over it again so quickly. Ova says, if I owe taxes, would that affect my F-400 interview? Yeah, they could deny you for owing back taxes, especially if you have a payment plan set up, you're not paying it, all this kind of stuff. Before, if you have a payment plan system set up for your taxes and you're paying it and you're showing good moral character, they would usually approve it. They could deny it. Under the updated citizenship laws, there's a higher chance of being denied for owing back taxes. Zero Superhero says the case was transferred to another office after responding to RFE. Is that a good thing? It's just processing. This is not a good or bad thing. Talk Purple says, hi, John. Considering the current issues with overstay, do you think it is safe for an F1 overstay married to U.S. citizen to submit AOS without an attorney? No criminal history, just out of status. 2, can you? Okay, so your first question, whether I can't recommend someone submit a case without an attorney. It's just I've seen too much people mess up things too much to make that recommendation. So no, it's always good to have an attorney, but not just any attorney. Someone who does this regularly, cares about the situation, could plan things out, strategize, dig deep into your history, try to catch issues ahead of time. That kind of attorney. But I just, after all the damage I've seen people do when they file on their own with notaries, I know there's Reddit pages, the Facebook pages that bash attorneys, that they're greedy and this and that. But if you see the damage I've seen people do in their cases, doing it on their own or with a notary or their cousin or a travel agent, I just can't recommend something like that because I've just seen too much. Just like an ER doctor, like that on TikTok, I've seen like doctors who say, an ER doctor say, I would never, there's 5 things I would never have my kids do. One is like trampolines, the second is blah, blah. And it's like, I love going on trampoline. I let my kids jump on a trampoline at friends' houses because like I don't deal with it. But if I was ER doctors, see how damaging it could be. So, they might see more of it because everyone comes to them with problems and people come to me with that problem. So I see the damages statistically, so it might be okay. But if you're asking me, I can't give you that recommendation. Bernstein Go says, what evidence is typically sufficient for I-751 waiver petition? It's the whole picture of your life. What happened? Sometimes you have very little evidence. You might have a personal statement even. But we need to see, financial documents, if you have what joint documents you have, reasons for things breaking apart. There's police records. It's really your story. How can we show your story? And some people don't have much joint documents, but they can explain the story in a personal statement, in an interview, track the situation where their relationship fell apart, and what happened, all that kind of stuff. Police reports potentially. We had a case where they didn't get a police report, but we have motel records that as soon as like the event happened, they got a motel that they had to run from their house and sleep out in the night. So we, I put a map of where the home is and the motel is and how they could walk there and have to spend there 2 nights. Here's a receipt, and then file divorce after that. So these aren't cookie cutter things that then kind of goes to the other question as well. It's really each case is a case by case basis, an individual, because the government will look at you individually and analyze you. And we got to see what's going on in your life. I don't like to think about it that way. It's typically sufficient stuff. It's really not that way in my opinion. And Yasser says, hi, happy holidays. Is a new ban will affect DV lottery winners from Africa because it takes longer to process DS260s compared to EU, and it can take long enough to miss the interview. If your interview is not scheduled or administrative processing happens, you're going to be hit really hard. What are the restrictions that could affect approval for DV lottery winners? Greetings from Egypt. What are the restrictions? The passport requirement could be one. I forgot what the updated requirements are, but just registering for the lottery is going to be harder because there's a $1 fee now to like weed out a lot of people. But at the same time, there's no travel ban for Egypt, but they could have extra background checks and delays. And Egypt getting an interview is just hard, and that could be too late. Talk says, thanks. Can you please explain out of status as it relates to DS on F1 visa? So this is going to be something that's going to be changing soon. They're changing the law, and typically if you're on some visa like a tourist visa or H-1B visa, there's an end date to how long you can be in the United States. But if you're a student, they don't have a fixed end date. They just say duration of status. As long as you need to be in the U.S., you have an I-20 as value going to school, you could just keep going, and your end date doesn't shut off. And where that becomes important is that once your end date happens, like on a tourist visa, H-1B, a work visa, something like that, you start accumulating what's called unlawful presence days after after that date. And so once you start accumulating unlawful presence days, once you have at least 180 of those unlawful presence days, if you leave the U.S. and want to apply for a green card, you're going to have a 3-year ban. If you overstay a year, you have a 10-year ban. However, if you're in the U.S., even if your status ends, technically you can adjust status, so that unlawful presence doesn't become a problem. But for some people, if they need to leave, it becomes a problem. We have a comment by Odin says, don't any a problem, don't come here illegally. So the issues we're talking about are people who are illegal. None of this is illegal stuff. When someone is a marriage green card and their spouse is like abusive or they get divorced, there's nothing illegal there. When someone's here on a student visa, file for a green card, they get married, there's nothing illegal there. People do file for asylum. It's all in the law. So we're not talking about anything illegal. That's a perception people unfortunately have because they don't understand the immigration system. Both people are pro-immigration, not just anti-immigration. People are pro-immigration. A lot of times don't know how the rules work and stuff like that. But we're only talking about legal, legit stuff. And someone snuck in, they have issues. And we're not talking about any of that. Here, the question hasn't even come up. Zero Super says, okay, answer your question, Zero Superhero. AS says, marriage based. I don't have an I-94. I came legally. My visa was canceled at the airport. How did you enter if they canceled your visa? But there should be some record. So you have to see if it has I-94. If you have a copy of the canceled visa, that'll be proof that you're at the airport. Maybe you need a lawyer to contact on your behalf, potentially CBP, to what's going on. They do a FOIA request from OBIM, a CBP FOIA. There's got to be records that go in there. Having a visa will help because it kind of shows that you had it. But if it was canceled, they should have given you temporary advance parole or something. There should be some documentation, AS. You definitely got to look into that. Thank you, everyone who liked. We have 2,700 likes on TikTok. Appreciate it. Good audience there. Thank you for good questions. Please like if you haven't already. Ramiz says, I wanted to come citizen, but I have a DUI and hit and run in 2011, 3 misdemeanors. That's going to be tricky with the hit and run and DUI. So it's not impossible per se, but it's not my specialty, but you need to talk to an immigration lawyer or it's going to be problems. This is when you renew. Definitely don't travel internationally. That could become a problem for you. It's a mess. Ahmed says, does affect I-751 new rules Trump? Well, not directly. Trump said we're going to review green cards for certain people or maybe all people. So that just generally, so I-751 is a green card case. So it may affect you, but it's not like focused on that. Ramis, thank you for the likes, everybody. Ahmed says, does affect it. Thank you for your question. Ahmed, I answer that one. Anya says, have you had I-130 approvals from priority date October 2024? Go through the NBC. My priority date is 11/29. So by priority date, is this for LPR F2A cases or U.S. citizen marriage cases or other types of cases? You got to be more specific with what type of I-130 you're talking about. User 23 says, how long does it take to get a process an I-61 waiver? 6 months to 3.5 years is the average. Oba says, would it be an issue with my N400 interview if I file single and joint afterwards? File single and file joint afterwards. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about taxes or something else? So whatever's the truth, you got to go based on that. Now, whether you're married, I don't know. I have to see what's going on in your personal life. That doesn't even comes up. Bloody says, I-129F is hard. That's a fiance visa. I mean, it's not hard or easy. It's just something you got to do if you want to do it. Pamir says, I'm living in Turkey. Okay. Kevin asks, Vawa newbie says, how long does Vawa case get through? It takes years right now. They're backed up. Kevin says, hello, sir. Thoughts on HR bill, blah, blah, blah. I don't really follow these bills. Every year there's 20, 30 immigration bills that happen, not even go through. So I stopped tracking this stuff until it's some realistic's happening with them. Chalky says, after my citizenship interview, I passed the exam, but in the case decision, they denied my case. Well, you can have a breakdown of why they denied it in the decision letter, so you should definitely look into that and see what happened. Mr. Chowdhury says, here's my comment. That guy's ignorant. Yep. Yeah. Chalk says, because my green card wasn't 5 years old, what can I do to get a refund? There's no refund. You just got to read the instructions and say, so this is like a situation where just a simple consultation would have been cheaper if you'd have a consultation with the immigration attorney. They would have told you they'll do that. Or down my citizenship guide to have this explanation to avoid the problem that you had, Chalky. You should go to jqqlaw.com/citizenship, and you would have learned right there that you couldn't have done that. There's no refund happening there. By the way, if you do want to schedule a private consultation, go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. And if you're interested in marriage or fiance case, we have a guide for you, 50-plus page guide, really breaking everything down, most things you need to know. It's at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. The website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And on the other end, if you're interested in citizenship, to avoid these kind of issues, we have a guide on that, 50-plus pages there too. Go to jqqlaw.com/citizenship and download the ultimate naturalization citizenship guide. Anya says U.S. citizen spouse in Jamaica, 2024. Those are taking 12 to 14 months, so probably another 1 to 3 months will be approved. Natalia asks, hi, how reliable are FOIAs by combining OBIM, CB, and FBI no records found? They're not fully reliable. You never know. Sometimes they say no records found is there, so it's not 100%. That's as much I can say. Albert says, how long after biometrics can I expect my green card as 10-year renewal? The biometrics have no connection with the decision date on your case. Green card renewals are taking anywhere from 6 months to 4 years. It's out of control. Go Get a Wabi says, out of status, it refers to overstay visa now. I have a green card. Yeah, out of status means you don't have any immigration status in the United States. So it could be overstaying a visa, for example. Rachel says, my child's father petitioned for him while he was already in the U.S. Unfortunately, his father passed. So there's a deceased spouse case we've done. I think there's a deceased, I think you still get a green card in that case. I'm sorry to have that happen, but if you have like a marriage case and your spouse dies, there's a widower case. I'm not sure if there's a widow for children. It probably is. I don't know. I haven't done that scenario before, so I'm not positive there's a solution to that. Mr. Chavez, better comment. I'm newer immigration attorney. Can a book a quick call for some mentorship? Mr. Chaudhry, I have a detailed podcast series called the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. Go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. First, I have a lot of content for mentorship there, and then also follow me on LinkedIn. And once you do that for a bit and make some comments, then we'll have a chat about it, see what's going on with your firm. But if you're, again, an immigration attorney, go to our website, immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com, click on the community tab, and you put your bar information there. You join our private community page. So definitely check out the community page if you haven't already. Lauren says, we are good there because my husband is legal resident. Good. That's good. I got approved a while ago. Congrats. Ms. Charles says, awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. Kevin says, thanks. How difficult is it attaining citizenship when having 2 prior DUIs, 34, 37-year-old DUIs, and green card of 36 years? So you should have done something during Biden's administration. During Trump, that'd be kind of risky. So we have to go over the DUIs, what happened, get the court records, show your rehabilitation, what you've done since then. 2 is not good. Last time Trump didn't want to approve 2, they eased it up, but it might. You got to talk with an attorney. You thoroughly review your background, your positive stuff, and then see what's going on at the current time before you file. Shiva says, can a green card holder with Iranian passport travel internationally? Thailand? International travel is the laws of other countries. So I can't really mention. I'm only U.S. immigration, so it depends on other countries. If you have a visa or permission to enter there, that's what they can look at. Nelk says, filed I-130 and I-485 without a lawyer. Do you do takeovers? I generally don't. I don't like taking over a case when it's unsubmitted. It's usually more work than it starts with. So just got to prepare. It's probably going to be more expensive than if you just came to us first, because usually we have to fix up a lot of stuff, a lot of explaining, and sometimes it's a bad case. But we might do it hourly or something like that to see what's going on first before we accept it. So we have hourly, or you go over a case, try to find issues, and then once we feel comfortable with the case, take it over. That's possible. This lawyer fees though. Poli asks, hi, we're filing at no-fault divorce soon. I want to hear your take on how good are my chances to continue my green card case after that. It's a marriage green card. Thank you. So if your green card has not been approved yet, and you're getting divorced, it's not going to it's going to be very difficult. That's that. But if you already have a green card, you mean like keeping the I-751, all that, that's doable. But it depends on your background and what you've done, documents, all that kind of stuff. Racy said, hey, is it normal my I-485 still in biometric state that is asylum granted based? Yeah, that does take a while. Me says, is visa ban for spouse of Afghan U.S. citizen? Yeah, unfortunately. Paulie said, I have a 2-year-old one already, so that's good. I have a lot of videos on this, Paulie, about that. I'm going to create a guide on it pretty soon. But if you go to YouTube, type in JQK Law and I-751 waiver. I've done a lot of detailed videos that'd be really helpful for you. A lot of people who find those tell us they've helped them a lot. I go through examples, all that kind of stuff. There's 2 or 3 10-minute videos on this that'll really help you. Anna says, I answer your question. I just wait a little bit longer. RSRT says, do we have any issue with asylum granted cases? Not so far. If it's granted, we got to see what happens with the recent changes. Rachel says he was approved. Then when they found out his dad passed, they said the case died since the petitioner passing. Yeah, so I don't know. There's a widower case where you can keep it alive if you're a spouse, but I can't remember if there's a case if for children. So you have to analyze that. Potentially, if the parent was a citizen, you may be able to do an N600K by saying the father's parents satisfy citizenship requirements and get it for the child. There's a timeline for if they pass away. I can't remember all the rules. I haven't done this case before. I just remember from reading it. So you definitely need to consult an immigration attorney if you want to get citizenship for your son. to analyze what's going on, the parents, all this kind of stuff, see how that can be fixed. Brian Smith, do you support the actions of ICE takes? I don't like people wearing masks in America to abduct people. I just not comfortable with that. So no. Now there is a place for ICE. We need immigration police. There's laws, so you have to follow what the laws are. But wearing masks, even if there's fear and stuff, there's just no place in a free society for law enforcement. Other than if you're doing a drug bust with drug rings or some really crazy SWAT team kind of stuff. For regular people, no, and it's just not a wise use of resources. I have a long conspiracy theory mindset of why they're doing this kind of stuff. It's not nothing to do with immigration, but there's easier ways of enforcing the laws that they wanted to, which is just go to businesses and say, let me see your list of I-9 verification and fire everyone who's not there. And eventually people who don't have work, they're going to leave. You can solve the problem with 2% of the cost by just having people ask for I-9 verification. And then people have no work, they'll leave over a period of 2, 3, 4 years, and that'll give time for business to adjust. Very simple solution, frankly, and it doesn't require you have to hunt people down, all that kind of stuff. But this is how when we have $17 trillion in debt, and you got to constantly feed the empire and bigger budgets and do crackdowns on electronic media and police state, all this kind of stuff. You have to find an excuse for it, and so immigration is an excuse because people get riled up about it. And that's the truth right there. My truth, at least I think it is. All right. So Palmir says, I live in Turkey. Well, that's good. Chucky says, so I have reapplication again. If you like to reapply, that might be a way to do it. Just make sure you do it properly. Rachel says he was approved by the National Visa Center. So we got to see what's going on. Now, there is another thing I forgot, Rachel, which is if the petitioner dies, you can have a replacement for a family member by substituting the I-864. There's a process for that because if he died after the I-130 was approved, so it's called reinstatement, something reinstatement. Look it up, some reinstatement and like passing away. Look that up. Humanitarian reinstatement, I believe it's called. I've never done one, but remembering the laws and stuff like that. So that's something you should look into too, where like a relative of the child's father could come in there and do an I-864 for the affidavit of support for National Visa Center, keep the case alive. But it kind of depends on where the child was, and if they're overseas, the death had to have happened after the I-130 approval, from what I recall. Caesar says, good afternoon, Attorney Coach Strike. Same to you. Thanks for coming on. Nasib says, please check your direct messages. I texted you. I called to your office too, and nobody called me back. Please. So if you texted me and called me, both our text replies and our office says you have to give us the email address and email us. So you didn't do that, or you didn't listen to instructions, Nasiba. And we don't work with people who don't follow instructions. So I'm unable to call you. Follow the instructions in our command to go to our website, jqklaw.com. Fill your information, and we'll email you. We don't take direct calls from non-existing clients. Shiva says, now you can call and leave a message, but we're just going to email you back or just recommend that you email us. Shiva says, I mean, the newest conditions happening. Is it wise a green card holder to travel internationally? Is there any chance not letting? When we say there's any chance, it's Shiva, I say this every episode, but it's like, is there a chance that you might have a car accident when you leave the house? People buy insurance. They don't expect to get car insurance, get a car accident. But is there a chance? Yeah, things happen. So not knowing anything about your background stuff, and it depends on how conservative you are, how worried you are. That's all we can do. I don't have the power to give it that kind of level of certainty that you're asking for. Wow, we got 5,000 likes on TikTok. Thanks so much, everyone who did. TikTok, please share the feed, like and share. It's really good. Caesar says, what can you say about a spouse getting arrested after USCIS interview? It's not good. It's been on the news. Oh, you mean arrested by ICE? So I have on YouTube, I did 3 videos on let's see, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I did 3 detailed videos on this subject. So we're at the end of the show. I would recommend going there about people being detained at their interview by ICE, at USCIS interview. Please watch those. But right now I don't have time at the end of it, so I want to take more questions. So let's wrap it up. I'll take a couple of last questions. We'll call it a day. I'll be back next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And if you want to schedule a private consultation, please go to jqklaw.com/contact. Rachel says, too long question to type here. Definitely, as I mentioned, Rachel, go check out the information I said or schedule a private consultation. We'll look into the case. Martha says, can you look up my message above? Let me see, Martha. I'm sorry if I missed you. No, I don't see any messages from you, Martha. Please ask your question again. There's nothing that comes up here from you. It says, are they working on anything for kids who came here with parents but asylum was denied? Beneficiary, I don't know if they're working. Rachel, that's a long question. I don't know. I don't handle those particular cases anyways. Zisham says, bro, how long is I-130 taking from Pakistan? how depends on what kind of I-130 and what kind of case it is and all that kind of stuff. Caesar says, "Will do, attorney. Thank you. You're welcome." Ninja says, "Hi, John. Would VAWA be safer than a regular marriage green card right now? I'm a victim of domestic violence." Well, if you're a victim of domestic violence, safer really is the physical safety. So you got to get out of that relationship. But and one thing is, some people stay in bad relationships wanting their marriage green card to be finished. But when you have a bad spouse that's not good to you, they may at the last second not come to the interview or destroy your case or stuff like that. So we got to see more details of what's going on, where you're on the case, what the situation is to really judge that. It's not something I could talk about here, Martha. I'm sorry. Sorry, I have to go through that. Marriage interview went well. Officer approved on spot in 2 weeks. And green and no card. It's more than 3 months. So you need to call USCIS. Okay, if it was approved, that's a different story. Honestly, that was a different question. Ninja asked. So you need to call USCIS ASAP and confirm what happened with the green card. It may have been lost in the mail. They've got to send it wrong address. You got to see what's going on. Miss says some are common green card interview questions. I did a TikTok today, Missy. I put it on YouTube and Instagram as well, going through the interview I had today. I had a marriage green card interview today. They go through, if you're, that's not marriage, but common green card interview questions. If it's a general case, and going through inadmissibility stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have time here for that, but I have a lot of content online on my videos for that. That Sham says, how long is I-130 for spouse? So what kind of spouse? LPR spouse or citizen spouse? Are you Pakistani or not? It's all going to take a while. For Pakistan, 4 or 5 years is easy. Okay, so okay, so I'm gonna call it a day. We're about done. I'm going through cases, the question to see if there's anything like urgent I can really answer. A lot of them are more general kind of stuff. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless. Be safe. I'll see you next Tuesday at 4 Pacific. If you want to schedule a private consultation, please go to jqqlaw.com/contact. And thank you everyone who liked on TikTok. We have 6,000 plus likes. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to get notification when we come wherever you're watching this. And so you get notified. We'll be back next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And sometimes I jump in and do a lot of videos. Plus, I'm doing a daily vlog now talking about different things that your typical questions coming up. I just spend a little bit of time going over that while I go for a daily walk. So I think that'll be very helpful for a lot of people. God bless. Be safe. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.